Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna make a statement. I know I've said it in other videos, but I have to say it again for the sake of this video and for this topic. It's been a rough year thus far for the stock market. Yes, briefly, the S&P did dip into bear territory, but as of today, the Dow Jones and the S&P are less than 20% down. So does that mean we fully escaped the claws of the bear? Who knows? The market is more emotional than a hormonal 13-year-old, so really it could just go either way. If you're a long-term investor, you probably know that bear markets and market turbulence happens from time to time. It's just in the nature of the stock market to sort of ebb and flow. But if you're new to the stock market, or even relatively new, say investing just for the past 10 to 15 years, this kind of market turbulence can be quite frightening because we're coming off the longest growth period ever. I recently posted a video that went over 401k balance by age, and on that video, there were a bunch of comments that people were saying they were altering their current investing behavior in their 401ks based on current market conditions. Some were saying that they've held back on contributing to their 401ks and currently aren't putting anything away. Others have said that they're reducing their overall contributions, waiting for things to settle out and become more normal before they go back to their normal contribution amounts. And that brings me to this video. For the vast majority of people, aka those not on the brink of retirement, 401ks, IRAs, TSPs, 403bs, and even supplemental brokerage accounts are long-term investment accounts. These are accounts that most of us aren't going to be touching for 10 or 20 or perhaps even 40 years. So it makes sense that the market conditions of today should not dictate how you invest in these long-term accounts. You should not be altering what you're putting into these accounts based on today's conditions. These long-term accounts are meant to have steady inputs of investments throughout the course of your entire working career, regardless of how the market is performing on any given day, month, or year. Like it or not, if you do change your contributions based on how the current market is performing in these long-term accounts, you are engaging in market timing. And as we all know, you can't time the market. Whether the market will go up or down in the next week, the next month, the next year, that's really unknowable. But if you sit on the sidelines waiting for things to settle down or normalize, whatever normal means, you might stay out of the market long enough that you actually miss the recovery, because the market will recover. The market has always recovered. If the current market conditions make you feel uneasy, maybe it's time to reassess your overall portfolio allocations, because maybe you're not comfortable with the current risk exposure you have. Because if you're not comfortable with the current level that your portfolio has fallen, that's a conversation about risk exposure. Perhaps you need a greater mix of less volatile assets to help reduce the overall volatility of your portfolio. Assets like stocks are more volatile. They have higher swings up and lower swings down, but historically they've provided a greater return, hence why people turn to them. But perhaps reassessing your relationship with cash can help you better weather this volatile market and a looming recession with less stress. There's a couple ways that cash can help you out. Perhaps stashing some extra cash can improve your overall risk tolerance level. Because the best thing you can do is set yourself up to be in a financially stable position today so that market volatility doesn't bother you. And a lot of financial stability just comes down to managing your cash levels. You know the old saying, cash is king, right? Perhaps your knee-jerk reaction to say is, what? No way. How can cash be king? Inflation is coming in at 9%. How dare you say holding cash is the best thing to do right now? And to that I say, hold on a sec, I got you. Yes, inflation is high. Yes, it is eroding the purchasing power of the dollar. However, very few things in this world can prepare you to weather a financial storm like a nice cash cushion. Having cash to fall back on can improve your personal financial outlook, regardless of what is happening in the economy or the world around you. Arguably, all that matters in personal finance is your personal economy. And if you put everything you have into the market, there might come a point in a downturn where you feel like you have to take it out to prevent it from going down further. You might simply feel like you're not capable of losing anymore, but you really only lose it when you withdraw the money. That's when you lock in the loss. So this is what you want to avoid at all costs. And yes, it is a great idea to check your emotions at the door when it comes to investing, but losing tens, if not hundreds of $1,000s is enough to shake even the most stoic of men or women. And when I say cash, I want to be clear, I don't mean physical cash that you are keeping under your mattress or in a closet. Don't do that. I have full faith in our banking system. These banks are FDIC insured, so why not keep your money with them? I think that's a wonderful place to keep it. When I speak to cash and cash-like equivalents, I am talking about savings accounts and money market accounts, so money that is readily accessible to you. And this cash gets to serve as your emergency fund, and how much of an emergency fund you need really depends on a lot of personal factors. If you are part of a dual income family, general guideline is to have at least 3 months worth of expenses at the ready. Having multiple streams of income can really help to stabilize a family's income, because if one person loses their job or their income, the other still has a paycheck coming in. It's unlikely that both people would lose their job at the same time. And not to throw my husband under the bus, but when we were dating, I remember asking him, what does your emergency fund look like? And he said, oh, I don't need an emergency fund. I work for the government. My paycheck is guaranteed. At which point I was like, what? Yes, you do need an emergency fund. Everyone needs an emergency fund. Then a government shutdown happened. What happened to that guaranteed paycheck? Point proven. We now have an emergency fund. And Steve has an emergency fund. Victory for me. Doesn't happen often, let me soak it up. And I'm a pretty cautious person financially speaking, so even nowadays in our household, I make sure that we're living on only one income. So if push comes to shove, if he lost his job or if I lost my job, either one of us would be able to fully support the household regardless of what the situation may be. So if one person lost their job, all it would do is actually hurt our savings rate, because we always make sure to live on one income rather than both. If you are a sole income earner, 6 to 9 months worth of expenses in cash reserves is more ideal. If we're heading for a recession, it's very likely that unemployment levels will start to tick upwards, because rising unemployment and recessions go hand in hand. And recessions become real for you if you are one of those to lose your job. And you never really know how long it will take to find another job. And you don't just want to be grasping at straws, taking any job that you can just because you need the paycheck. Having these cash reserves allows you the time necessary to look for a quality job, one that fits your skill sets and pays accordingly. It gets you back on your feet in a proper manner. If you are an entrepreneur, a freelancer, or in a highly unstable work field, keep a year's worth of expenses on hand. I know that that can seem like a crazy inflated number, and perhaps you're thinking, I don't want that much cash just sitting on the sidelines, not being put to work. But if your job comes with an unstable paycheck, you simply need a bigger buffer. And if you are the entrepreneur, if you are at the head of a business, you have to make sure that that business can ride out its rough patch, because market downturns and recessions, they bring lean times. Job layoffs are a reality and consumers start spending less. You have to be able to make sure that that business will be able to ride out whatever is thrown your way. Like I said, I know there's gonna be those people who are like, I cannot have a year's worth of cash expenses on hand just not doing anything. Let's put that money to work and get it making some money. But you have to remember that finance still has a behavioral and an emotional component to it. And having this type of cash reserve to fall back on can help you sleep soundly at night. And that really does speak volumes to your emotional well-being if you can sleep soundly no matter what the market is doing. Finally, if you are retired, 1 to 3 years worth of expenses would make for a solid emergency fund. Having a cash buffer helps prevent you from having to dip into your investments when the market is down. Instead, during those times, you can simply live off your cash and give your investments the time they need to recover. Having a significant cash buffer is a critical element to making your money last in retirement. Now, of course, everyone's retirement is different, to different expenses and different sources of income. For instance, if Social Security primarily covers all of your expenses in retirement, well, then you don't need that big of a cash buffer because Social Security is pretty much as close as it gets to having a guaranteed paycheck. But the whole point is to ensure that you don't have to dip too much into your investments during these extreme market downturns. Because if you can leave your portfolio alone and give it that time necessary to recover, well, then you don't cause too much damage to your investments by withdrawing too much when they are down. But remember, at the end of the day, finance is personal. Keep in mind that the amount of cash you need set aside for emergencies and for these cash reserves is really personal and depends on the individual, and often it has some emotions tied to it. What I gave are general guidelines, but there is no right answer. There is only an amount that is right for you. And often you can figure out what that amount is by using the pillow test. What amount would allow you to lay your head down at night and go to sleep soundly without worrying what the market's doing on any given day? Your answer is the right amount for you. Having an adequate cash buffer helps to keep your long-term goals in perspective. That 401k, that IRA, those brokerage accounts, those are long-term accounts. You put your money away in those accounts knowing you don't need it next week, next month, next year. That is for your future self. Having cash at the ready ensures that any obligations you face today or in the near term, you are well equipped to handle. So if the market during those turbulent times throws us a 200, 300, 400 point drop in a single day, it shouldn't matter because you don't need that money right now. If a recession hits and you have a job loss, I hope you don't, but if you do, having cash reserves to fall back on is literally life-changing. What is happening in an account that you don't need to access for the next several decades should not concern you, and it certainly shouldn't play on your emotions today. If it is, honestly, just stop looking at it, block it all out. Instead, look at your cash reserves. If that helps to settle you down, great. If looking at your cash reserves still keeps you feeling a little bit uneasy and a little bit stressed, maybe it's time to up your cash reserves. The market will work itself out. It always does. The best thing you can do is to spend more time focusing on your personal economy rather than the country's economy or even the global economy as a whole. There's nothing you can do at that level anyway, but there is a lot that you can do to influence your personal economy. Boosting your cash reserves can do wonders into helping keep you calm no matter what the market conditions. But I do also want to add that I firmly believe in investing no matter what the market conditions. My philosophy is stay invested and keep investing no matter what is happening. So I don't want this to come across as an anti-investing stance and say all goes to cash. Not at all. I believe in a very well-funded emergency fund and always investing. Your future self will thank you if you keep investing. But that's going to do it for me on this one. What do you guys keep as far as your cash reserves? What's your goal? What helps you sleep at night? As you can imagine, I'm a fairly cautious person, so I like to keep about 6 months reserves ready just in case something happens. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I hope you have a good day. I'll see you soon. Bye. Briefly, so does that mean, a little excited, okay. Oh, I almost fell off my chair. This bear market in these 401k, just when you think it's gonna be easy, you get stuck. As to how the market is performing, like it or not, it always has. If the level of construction around my house right now, provided a greater return. Stupid Asics, like, you need a greater self is to set yourself up, can improve your financial outlook. Not sure if I said look or lick. In personal finance. I don't like it. Getting hot. It's getting so hot in here. I need the AC, but I need to be done filming. What? Your personal position today. What is happening? Like Perhaps your knee-jerk reaction to say, banking system, put your money in the banks, keep it safe. FDIC insurance, it's an amazing thing. Having multiple earners, I don't like the start of that. Probably unlikely to lose their job. Because unemployment want to have an adequate cash. So you have to, the frick. All the planes today, literally all of them, every single one. Spend more time. Different sources of income. Cash buffer, because Social Security as big as a calf. It's pretty much guaranteed. I just stared at a light and now I can't see. Oh, blindness can cause damage to the net worth you so hard